Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pet O.
Pat. Oh, I know how your weekend went already, but how was your weekend?
Absolutely fucking god awful. How was yours?
Pretty good. It wasn't terrible. So I had been waiting to check out the Skinamarink movie. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes,
Okay.
because I want to wait until I almost watched it last night because I heard you were watching it,
Oh, okay.
and I thought I would let you be the deciding vote whether or not I watched this movie. So
Okay.
what did you think?
Pretty interesting, actually, that you say that. So I waited. I wanted to watch it with my daughter. Okay. Because I had seen lots of talk on social media about how like you need to go in this with the kids' kind of perspective to enjoy it.
Hmm.
And we're about, probably about 45 minutes into the movie. And I'm like, this is awful. This is really bad. Like, this is really bad. Listen, I understand that horror is experimental. I get that part. And I'm all for it. And good on anybody that takes that shot and tries. So then it finally, about 50 minutes into the movie, it kind of finally starts to pick up. And I'm invested. I'm like, oh, okay, what's gonna happen? Because like the first initial kind of scary thing that happens is kind of exciting. And but Daniel Thorndike, which I hear you know who that is. Me and him, we were kind of texting about it. And one thing that I had to say about this movie is that it like edged me the whole time. It edged me. It did. It's like
Okay.
something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen, and then nothing happens. And I'm just wasn't a huge fan of it. Now, my child, on the other hand, who is 11 years old, fucking loved this movie. Loved it.
Wow. Okay.
Loved it. And she's not huge in horror. She's kind of
Hmm.
been getting into it a little bit more lately. So this is kind of one of, I mean, maybe she's seen like maybe 10 horror movies her whole life. But she really liked this movie. So, I was kind of trying to get some other perspective because I've heard of people saying that this movie is absolutely horrifying. They loved it. It's their new favorite movie. I'm like, with what? This? Are you serious? After kind of reading a little bit more about it, it's not made for people like you and I, Pato. It's made for people with normal childhoods. I'm dead serious. I'm
Okay.
dead serious. Because you know what it is what it is these two kids wake up in the middle of the night and they are like trapped in their house and all the adults are gone and they can't leave because there's no doors
Well,
or windows.
that sounds like ages fucking 6 through 14 for me. I don't know.
Right. I'm like at 4 we regularly woke up and there was no adults and you didn't go
Right.
outside because you know not to, but you just kind of waited, but it wasn't scary because it was normal you know
Right.
This has that like fear of the dark, no adults around type of normal childhood fear that normal people have. So it plays into that. And so I can understand why people who, again, had normal childhoods would find this horrifying and disturbing to them.
Hmm.
But it's not going to hit with people like you and me. So I mean, check it out, watch it. It's worth the one time watch, I suppose.
It's long,
Um,
isn't it? It's like almost 2 hours.
is it?
I don't know. That was my understanding was that it
I think it's
was
like an hour and a
a
half.
yeah, I thought it was a longer movie. That's what kinda held me back too, because I ain't gonna yeah, it's an hour and 40 minutes. I guess it's not too bad.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, but like you don't actually look at anybody. I'm just gonna spoiler alert. All of the camera angles are supposedly shot from the perspective of a child, but like not really. Because kids at least like look around. You're either looking at the floor or you're looking at the ceiling or you're looking at a door frame while like there's some voices that kind of happen maybe sometimes, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Static and door frames and and walls. It's different. Again, good on the guy for going out of his way and filming this. And again, I can understand what he's doing and where that perspective's coming from. I just can't relate to it. So I didn't think it was scary. I will never watch it again.
Okay.
So that I did that this weekend, and that's about it, really. I didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
So
I saw 80 for Brady. It
what
was
what is that?
It's the movie about the four old ladies that go to the Super Bowl to see Tom Brady.
Okay.
Did you not even hear of this movie? That's
No.
funny. That's funny. Yeah, we watched it for Y2K. Actually, we were recording the Y2K episode when you were texting Daniel about the Skinamarink. That's how I
Oh,
know.
that's funny.
Yeah, and he was telling me how great it was, and I was listening to him, and I was like, "All right." And then he's like, "Oh, Ashes is watching it now." Actually, I'm like, "Well, let me get her verdict." And because some stuff I think is just, I guess I'm just not smart enough to get it, and I don't know. I might check it out at some point. It's on Shutter, right?
Yeah, it's on Shutter now. And
Yeah,
I get what you mean. Now, I'm smart enough to get these things. That doesn't mean I enjoy it. Just like again, A24 films, smart enough to understand it. There's just movies that do it better.
yeah, I hear you.
you know and but this one was different. This is different. There's nothing like it. And if you want something fresh and new from the horror community, I suppose check it out. But if you're going to watch it, watch the whole thing. Like actually sit and watch the whole thing.
Hmm.
Sit with it for a minute afterwards and then decide if you like it or not. Really think about what you just witnessed because it is interesting. But okay, well, that's sounds good. You want some news for the week?
Sure.
Well, I have something here. So in Jerome, Michigan, there was an interesting 911 call that came in from a woman who was reportedly seeing a chupacabra accompanied by a capybara. You know what a capybara is, Pano?
No, no. What are
Well,
those?
they're adorable. They're like these giant. They're like the biggest rodent in the world, but they are very docile and calm creatures. So it's really interesting that the goat sucker would hang out with one of the most chill animals in the world. But this woman was saying that's what she was seeing. Now, the dispatcher that was letting the police officer know, we got this woman reporting a chupacabra and a capybara in her yard. Um, the officer was like, I'm sorry, huh? What did you just say? He said, yeah, chupacabra. The dispatcher told the officer that there had been multiple reports of chupacabra coming in that area lately. So that's interesting. But the woman then later came around and said that she actually did not see this, that this was a hallucination because she was using quote unquote substances, and now doesn't believe
Mm,
that that's what she actually saw. So, but I thought it was interesting that the dispatcher had mentioned that there were multiple reports of this thing in the area. So, I don't know. Got
not
anything,
good.
got anything to say about chupacabras in Michigan, Pat?
I don't fuck with Michigan. Michigan is Michigan's really trashy. It's like Kid Rock.
Eventually, we'll have to. Michigan is Kid Rock. Is that what
Well,
you're?
like there's some bad bitches I know from Detroit. Michigan is just it's not Wisconsin, let me put it like that.
I don't know
I
what
would
that means.
Wisconsin is a happy place. Michigan is a dark, dark territory. It's the dark
I
night of
like
the
Michigan.
Really?
I do. Have you ever been to Ann Arbor?
You know what? Yes. And Grand Rapids. There's some all right places there.
I think
It's
it's
not
some all right
all.
places.
But Michigan is like your no, I guess you don't have a Wisconsin. You have because you have the Lake Erie or whatever's up there. Um
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
So,
know.
so
About
Michigan's like Canada. I mean, is that what you're saying?
so
Wisconsin's
I
like
know
Canada.
just Michigan's a lot of like fucking like like meth head forest people.
Okay, so you're
From
talking
from
about
from
the
from the
whole Midwest.
perspective of a Chicagoan, right? You go up to Wisconsin and it's like everyone it's like very Midwestern, it's like Fargo, everyone it's all cheese and brats and cute thick girls and stuff. You go to Michigan and it's like a bunch of like trailers in the woods and like real like methy. It's just a different vibe. I don't know. I'm probably being very offensive right now. I
I think you're
apologize.
talking the Upper Peninsula, maybe, but not the Lower. I don't know. Then you got Detroit, which I mean, actually, it's not that bad. I went to the Detroit Zoo one time. That was pretty neat.
I do,
Um,
but I do like Grand Rapids because we go there for concerts sometimes. It's like a college town.
yeah.
You brought up Ann Arbor, and then there's like Saugatuck and South Haven, where I used to date a girl whose family had a vacation house up there and shit. I don't know.
I think it's some all right places. The way that I describe Michigan, and I mean, it's a lot like Ohio. It's just that it's not. So when I go to Michigan as an Ohioan, because there are sports rival, and that's important to some people. When I go to Michigan, and I tell people here that I'm going to Michigan, they're like, ew, Michigan, God, bye. But I go to Michigan and I'm like, oh, I'm from Ohio. And they're like, oh, really? Where? What area? Like, they're super nice. Like, it's never been a problem.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess, like, if your bad, not happy place is Michigan, then I suppose to Michigan, we are the bad, not happy place. I don't know. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but, I
You
don't hate
know,
it. I
or
don't
you
hate it.
could just say Michigan is Ohio's Wisconsin or something. I don't know.
I
But
guess, yeah.
speaking of Ohio sports rivals, Daniel, and speaking of Daniel Thunderink, him and I arbitrarily decided to like follow a sports team just so we have something else to talk about. I don't know, and we decided on the Columbus Blue Jackets, which I guess is
Hockey.
it's a new NHL team. So we're
A
gonna
new NHL team?
well, I guess they've been around for a hot minute, but I don't really remember them. How old are they?
I
How long
mean,
have they been there for?
I've known about I don't know sports, but I've known about the Blue Jackets forever. My parents are big. Well, my mom is big into hockey, and they've been around for as long as I can remember.
Really? That is crazy. I had never heard of them until he suggested that. I thought I'm like, oh, they must be an expansion team. And he was like, no, so I don't know.
That's an actual. I'm trying to figure out like when they were established. 1997.
Oh, yeah, so that's relatively new. And no,
I
they began as an expansion team in 2000.
no. Well, okay.
Um,
23 years ago, Pat. That's not new.
that's
They're old
relatively
enough to
new.
drink.
Remember? Yeah, exactly. I was hammered for most of that time. I'm
They're
just
old
kidding.
enough to drink now. That means they're not new.
Yeah,
Is that, is that what you say to kids that can newly drink? Oh, you're still brand new.
right. Fresh chicken is what we call them at the bar.
At 23, I was getting divorced. I mean, I had a toddler, Shit, I mean, my God. Anyway, why are you guys following a sports team together? I don't understand.
I don't know. I think it has to do with 80 for Brady. He just texted me. He's like, "Hey, you want to follow a sports team?" And I was like, "Okay."
What do you do? You guys
I don't
like,
know.
talk about it? Like,
I mean, I said we were going to do the Blackhawks, which is the Chicago team, but I was like, "Well, let's do somewhere in the middle so we can go see their games, or we could watch them when they come to play against the teams in our cities." Because he's in one of the Carolinas, and I think they have their own hockey team or something. So we just decided on the Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't know. Tickets will probably be cheap.
men are
Uh,
weird.
I yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. Guys are weird.
Okay. Well, good luck with your sports ball team or whatever. Um, that's all I had for the news. Pato, you wanted to talk about this Chinese balloon?
I did, and I had the once again the weekend from hell, so I did not spend as much time researching this as I wanted to. You probably have heard about this in the real news. Not that this isn't the real news, but in the news already. From January 29th to February 4th, a large high altitude balloon operated by China crossed North American airspace, passing over Alaska, Western Canada, and the contiguous United States. The American and Canadian military stated that the balloon was a surveillance device, while the Chinese government stated it was a civilian meteorological meteorological research airship blown off course. The balloon passed over Montana February 1st and Missouri February 3rd. It was shot down the next day by U.S. Air Force over territorial waters off the coast of South Carolina on orders from President Joe Biden. Now, I thought this thing got shot down over Billings, Montana. So were you following this story at all on Twitter?
Yeah, I saw that. It was just the lighting of the video.
There was a video of something get shot down over Billings. Although, have you noticed now that like Twitter facts checks some stuff, and if people post bullshit, it'll call them out on it?
Sometimes it does, yeah.
Because somebody had posted another video that they claimed was from Billings, and or picture that they claimed was from Billings, Montana, and then Twitter fact checked it and said no, this photo is from the year 2000 or whatever. It said that no, it was from before. It was bullshit. Um, so that I thought was super interesting. So maybe the Montana thing is a hoax. Um, Even though it's crazy that they would let it go through the United States before blowing it up over the Atlantic Ocean. But once again, and we're going to say this guy's so named so many goddamn times this episode, but Dan, I was talking to Dan and he saw it get blown up outside because he lives over there. He went outside and looked at it and could see it in the sky and shit. So he said it really got shot down. Like that part's real. Um, the incident added strained relations between the United States and China, causing U.S. Secretary of State Antonio Blinken to postpone a diplomatic visit to Beijing. It also further strained Canada-China relations due to the airspace incursion. On February 3rd, the U.S. Department of Defense said a second Chinese balloon was passing over Latin America. So this balloon is pretty fucking big. It's about the size of 3 school buses in length, 20 to 30 meters. So this was a pretty big thing, and it's interesting, and it for a couple different reasons. It's interesting in light of all the UAP stuff, right? Because I've long maintained that a lot of these things might be aircraft from a secret space program, potentially ours, potentially Chinese, right? And it's also interesting because I had read somewhere online that, a lot of people were paranoid that this, not only was this a surveillance situation where they were, I don't know what the fuck they were looking at or what they were doing, but that this also could have been a nuke delivery system for potentially bombing us. And then something else that I saw on Twitter, and mind you, this is all unsubstantiated Twitter fucking bullshit. But I mean, Twitter's, I feel like the new public square. So it's worth listening to and at least, hearing what other people have to say. Somebody last night brought up the fact that this would be an excellent, nuclear stuff is easy to be traced because of the radiation it gives off and stuff like that. And that this wouldn't be an ideal nuclear delivery system, but it would be an excellent delivery system for an EMP, which of course terrified the shit out of me last night, because if anyone knows anything about anything, the biggest thing that we have to fear is our grid going down, because that would be catastrophic.
Sure.
And there's been lots of movies and books and conspiracy theories about that and how that would play out if the lights went out. So that certainly got my attention, and also made me really fucking paranoid, because one of the bright spots of this weekend was that I went to the gun range Saturday morning and blew off a shit ton of ammo, and I have yet to restock. So I'm thinking, like, fuck, man. At least wait till I get back from Bass Pro Shop on Wednesday before you turn the electricity off.
Shit, they're probably sold out.
Oh, I know. Oh Jesus, that's the other fucking thing too. You know what? It's so funny because the range was absolutely slammed this weekend, and it was people buying stuff. It wasn't people. Well, so the place that I go shooting at is a the best way I can describe it is ammunition from the Grand Theft Auto games, especially the latter ones, where it's like it looks like you're in a car dealership, like where there's really hot chicks with like fake tits selling like AR-15s, and it's a bunch of neon lights and stuff, and like Armenian dudes in tracksuits that call everybody buddy, and that's the kind of gun shop I go to. But they have a range in the back, and I usually just go there to use the range. Ammo and stuff like that, you're better off getting. I get out of state at Bass Pro Shop because the taxes are cheaper and the ammo is cheaper. It just makes more sense. But that place was packed this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I drove past it Sunday, and I just thought, like, it's kind of been busy ever since they proposed an AR-15 ban here in Illinois. So people have been stocking up, which I think is kind of fucking gross, but whatever. And I thought maybe it had something to do with that, but it's funny that you mentioned it in relation to this story, because that could definitely be part of it too, is that when stuff like this happens, maybe it gets people out their bunkers to stock up.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Initially I was like, of course I think about stuff like that. Oh my god, there's something in the sky. I live right at the where the base is. This is scary.
Yeah.
And I have that thought every once in a great while, and it kind of, gets to me. But like, this was just a balloon.
Well,
I,
something else that I saw too that was great because they tried to politicize this and say, "Oh, this would have never happened underneath Trump's watch." Not to get super political, but then the U.S. Department of Defense released a press release that mentions that officials said Chinese balloons briefly transited the continental United States at least 3 times during the prior administration. So that's directly from the U.S. Department of Defense. So this kind of thing does happen, and it's happened before without incident, and it happened before with us not knowing about it either.
it's happened in other
Um,
countries. I mean, and it happens all
yeah,
the time.
so it's interesting that like I don't know what provoked why this one hit the news so hard. Was it because people saw it in the sky and then it was on social media and that was it? Or I don't think like we were alerted by like the press wasn't told about this by the military, was it?
No, this was definitely us. Just like anything that goes viral. This was one of those things.
Yeah, we
And
spotted
people,
it and then yeah.
people were taking video of it, and initially we're like, "Oh my god, it's a UFO," and it's like, that's not a UFO. Clearly, well, I guess to them it is because they didn't know what it was. Um,
Right.
you know, so I suppose you might think it's a UFO, so therefore it is to you. And then people just spread like fucking fire across social media, and then so the United States didn't have a choice but to address it. Um, Again, people are like, well, it had cameras on it. I don't think we actually know that it had cameras on it yet. I mean, they probably do now that they've recovered pieces of it and haven't told us anything about it. But I didn't understand why it was being called a spy balloon when we didn't know that for sure.
Yeah, like I don't get what they would be taking pictures of either. I guess it did kind of float by a military installation or something like that. Um I don't know I mean it just seems like such weird archaic technology. Like
Yeah,
they don't have satellites that can do this kind of stuff.
they do.
Um, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So it's like why well that's why some people theorize that it was a test run for they're trying to determine what level of incursion they can do before being caught. So obviously something about this thing didn't trip anyone's radar sensors. They didn't pick up on it until people started taking pictures of it and shit.
No,
Otherwise we
that's
would
not true. That's not true at all, Pat. We don't know when the government knew that this thing was up there. And I'm sure they knew about it almost immediately. And that's another thing about it is that, which people are like, well, they invaded our aerospace. Well, no, actually, it didn't. Our airspace has a height limit, and this thing was above that. So what does that mean? Does that mean they're breaking the rules then?
wow.
Because they weren't, right? It was too high up for them to even be in our airspace. So is that how you get away from it? But we don't know when they actually knew when this thing was in the sky. It could have been way before social media knew. I would hope that it was, and that's how competent we are, is that we have eyes in the sky. It doesn't mean that the government's going to release that information to us. Why would they? Why would they tell China, yeah, we knew right the fucking minute that it crossed that Canadian border, we knew it was in our space. Obviously we knew it was in Alaska. How did we know that? Because we saw it. So I mean, we were aware, I'm sure, way before. Um, but yeah, people are, speculating all kinds of stuff. I mean, the reason why we didn't shoot it down is because of, first of all, we didn't know if there was anything in that balloon that could have been harmful. We didn't know. We didn't know if it was an attack or not. Right?
Right.
Maybe they wanted us to shoot it down so that it would spread some new, bioweapon across our
Right.
country. And not just that, the physical debris itself. I mean, there was nowhere safe for us to shoot it down at and have all that shit land from 68,000 feet in the air. You know, and then come down safely. It's why we waited until it's over the ocean. Because guess what? We don't give a shit if they have cameras hooked onto that thing looking at stuff because they do have satellites that already do that. Like that wasn't the issue at all here. Meanwhile, China's like, well, you guys just overreacted because it wasn't even like from the government; it was from private study, and you just shot it down. And we didn't actually do anything wrong because we were flying above your airspace. So now they're mad and they want to retaliate against us. So who knows what fucking shitstorm that's going to brew? Um,
Oh, I don't.
they
I
said
think.
that.
Yeah, but that doesn't. I mean, that's kind of a fucking. That's kind of bullshit. Like, you're gonna call us out for being upset about that? Like, I don't think so. Like, doing the whole listen, talking about our airspace only extends so far, and we were above that. That's fucking semantics, right? And to try to say like we're not. The government wasn't responsible because this was a private industry that did it. Okay, well then guess what? We'll refund the we'll pay back the private industry whose thing that we blew up that flew over our fucking backyard. You know, like the fact that they're going to threaten us with military retaliation because we blew something from their country that floated over ours. I mean, or we could just chalk the whole thing up to bad luck and go on about ourselves. I don't think this is going to escalate into anything, but I
But
think it
they said
definitely.
it was going to. They were going to hold us accountable for blowing that thing. That's what the Chinese, that's not speculation. They said they are going to review information about what happened here and they are going to take retaliation if they deem it necessary because we shouldn't have shot it out of the sky. And if
Okay, well, we're going to do another show next week, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if China has retaliated against the United States by then. I'm going to say no, but we'll see.
it's not
You
a
know,
military retaliation, Pat. We buy everything from China. Everything we buy from China. They can retaliate by fucking up our economy that's already fucked up and vulnerable right now. And
sure.
that's not going to take a week. That's going to take a little bit of time. So we just don't know. Was this a good idea to shoot it out of the sky? I don't fucking know. I'm not a world leader, thank God. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know what China's going to do either. I've never had a conversation with them about what they think would be fair to punish us in this case. And that's not up to you or I. That's up to them what they do. I don't know. But it's just an interesting perspective on how all this got way overblown and how Americans thought it was a good idea to shoot at it with their own guns, which is stupid and harmful
Yeah, I
to
saw that.
American
That was.
citizens. Yeah. Right. That's why we need stricter gun control laws is those fucking people. Like that's the problem. So, I mean, I hope that we track down every single one of them and fucking revoke whatever rights they have to guns because they don't need it. Um, but yeah, that's dumb. But interesting because, like I said, when I first got wind of it, it was from the UFO communities. It's from people reporting this UFO, and it wasn't that at all. And look how many people wanted to shoot it down. That's why aliens don't fucking come and freely visit us and come and go and whatever. It's because we will shoot them out of the fucking sky given the chance. That's
Right.
what it is. And we've proven that with this fucking balloon. So I don't know. Anyway, it was interesting though. It was fun. It was fun to watch it happen. And yeah, any other thoughts on the Chinese balloon?
Oh no, not at all.
I'm gonna wait and see what happens with it. Like the rest of us. And I'm curious to find out what they get from the debris. By the time the show comes out, actually, we might know, but who knows? So
I thought that was weird too. Is that they said it would take them a couple days to get the debris because it was in 47 feet of water. It didn't seem very deep, but I'm no deep sea diving expert, so I can't believe they wouldn't have a recovery boat. You know what I mean? Because they kind of have an idea of, okay, this is when we're going to shoot it down, is when it gets over here, the Atlantic. You know, can't they have a boat on standby? Is it really going to take days to recover? But
did they
we'll
say it's
see.
going to take days to recover or days to figure
Yeah,
out what it is?
no, that was what when I was watching the news on Saturday, that's what the guy they had on said was that it was going to take days to recover.
Oh
And
bullshit!
then there was even the people that were the commentators were like, that seems a little it shouldn't really take days, but we haven't heard anything yet. I mean, they shot it down on Saturday. It's as of us
Yeah,
recording this, yeah.
it's
So
and my daughter woke up that morning and I was like, "There's a Chinese spy balloon floating around the air right now," and she's like, "We can't go anywhere. That's scary." And then a couple hours later, I was like, "The Chinese spy balloon got shot out of the sky." Just
yeah,
casually.
I almost brought that up when you were talking about her and Skinamarink because I was watching it with my son too, And he got really weirded out. He's like, "Turn this off." And I'm like, "Well, it's no, I want to see what's going on." And he was like, "Oh."
Hit like that.
No, he didn't like it.
Poor
He
guy.
put on Odd Ones Out. He's like, "I don't want to watch this."
Tell him to go to his fucking room. He's got a bedroom, right?
All
It's my
right.
house. I'm gonna watch the news in whatever room I want to.
Yeah, well, it's not that kind of house.
Oh well, see. I guess I'm lucky. It's just me and my child. I just tell her get the fuck out of my. I tell her get out of my area. Then it's my area. Tell her it's my space. You don't want to watch what I'm watching. You get the fuck out. It works. She goes. It's probably why she doesn't hang out with me anymore. I always watch a bunch of weird shit. But anyway, back to the I guess the topic. Um, what do you know about the Beast of Bray Road, Pato?
I you know, I think I had heard of it before, but I recently, within the past year or two of doing this show, I have come to associate it with Adam from the Pine Barren Institutes. Um,
Really?
I don't know why. Did he write a book about it or something, or is he, just because he's from over there?
I don't think he wrote a book about it, but he is from over there. He's probably investigated the area. I'm sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
he has.
So I think that's just like you say Georgia, I say Guidestones. If you say Beast of Bray Road, I think Adam. It's
Okay.
the immediate connection I make.
Fair enough. I mean, I think that's a good connection. I'm surprised you hadn't really heard, too much about it, considering like this thing is like all up in your area, pretty much.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until Adam. I mean, I think I had heard of it probably. I had to have, because also I knew who Linda Godfrey was just for being a Coast to Coast fan.
Yeah,
And this was the story that kind of broke her to the crypto
molded
community.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I was definitely familiar with it. I had heard it before, but I don't think I ever realized like, oh, that's Elkhorn. You know what I mean? Which is probably an hour and a half away from me tops or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, interesting. The Beast of Bray Road is a big popular one. Most people know it as I guess Dog Man, the werewolf, wolf beast, wolf man, whatever you want to call it, the Bray Road Beast. It's got 100,000 names. I just thought that of course we've talked about Dog Man on the show before. I thought that it'd be interesting to start kind of now that we've almost covered everything to start really honing in on particular topics and really taking a look at those individual cases and seeing if they hold any water at all and if they play into the big picture. So the Beast of Bray Road's always kind of been around allegedly, but it picked up popularity mostly in the 90s. And
Hmm.
it kind of slowly gained traction throughout the 80s into the 90s and then kind of died out in the 2000s. But that's not to say people don't see it to this day. Allegedly, they do. Um, but the earliest reported sighting happened in 1936. Okay. There was a man driving in Jefferson County and he saw a man that was digging in a field. So he slowed to watch the man when the figure stood to its full height, which was about 6 feet tall, and stared at him. At that point in time, the driver realized this is not a man. So the driver said that the creature was covered in hair and looked like a cross between a dog and an ape. And he got a good enough look at it to see that its hands were shaped like human hands. And at that point in time, the driver got the fuck out of there. So, what kind of cars were they driving in 1936? Do you know?
Like those Model T things.
That was pretty cool. So he didn't go very fast. That thing probably could have outran that car. Got him if it really wanted to. So this is again the earliest sighting on paper from that time. And, a lot of people talk about what this could be. Now, of course, we kind of talked about the connection between like Wisconsin and Michigan. Michigan also has a very popular monster, the Michigan Dogman,
Hmm.
um, which I went on the, oh my gosh, the one show that I did, and I can't remember what it's called. Oh, well, I went on the show and talked about Michigan a lot, and we'll eventually, break apart Michigan. Um, but the Native American lore in and around this area, mm, you know, I don't see anything in particular that points to werewolf. But there were reports that some of the settlers in, in early times would complain that they would, get their village going, and a fucking dog creature, a werewolf type creature, would come along and destroy the fucking village and then just disappear. And then they'd have to rebuild again. And there were like reports of this happening in mass in that area. Some people attribute this thing to the Wendigo because that is really popular in that area, but that's not what a Wendigo looks like. So I don't know where that similarity falls into play. I suppose because it's a shapeshifter, and I don't know why people put those two things together. They're not the same thing. So again, there is some history here to this creature that we know of. So like I said, around the 80s, it started to peak. The sightings started becoming more and more prevalent. And people were seeing this creature. And so, like I said, it's about it's anywhere from like 2 to 6 feet tall. And I only say that because there are reports of both this thing crouching down on all fours and standing up bipedal and walking and running away. But the legs are very distinct. They're not straight up and down like you get in like a Bigfoot. They're dog shaped. And the whole head, a lot of people describe that it's got the head of a dog, which is interesting. But the story got huge when what's her name? Let me find it.
Linda Godfrey?
No, not Linda Godfrey. It was actually on Halloween, and I believe I don't know if it was 1991 or 1999. Nobody can seem to get that right. It's probably in Linda's book somewhere. But it got big when Doris Gibson was driving around one night on Halloween. She was 18 years old.
That was from the earlier flap that Linda reported on. She describes it as like something like misshapen and unholy or something?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna shut up.
That's okay. So Doris was driving along. This is where the name comes from, the Beast of Bray Road, because she was driving along Bray Road in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, when she hit something. And when she hit this thing, okay, she got out of the car to figure out what it was that she hit, and what she saw was this weird fucking werewolf beast creature. And it was all the way, she had hit it and didn't stop the car immediately, so she was kind of further enough away, and this thing was pissed. Okay, so it gets up, stares her down with its golden yellow eyes that people claim that it has, and starts charging at her. And she said this thing had so much weight on it that she could hear the feet hitting the ground as it's charging at her. So she jumps back in the car and she leaves. She gets out of there. But it grabbed onto the trunk of her car and was still trying to get at her, and scratched the shit out of the trunk of her car. And then eventually, it couldn't keep up with the car itself, and it fell off. And then the story just became huge after that point. That story spread everywhere. And then, of course, more reports came in of people seeing this thing, in and around that area. And Linda, at that point, she was able to personally investigate the case, and she was able to see the car, see the scratch marks on the car. She verified them. Another distinct feature of this thing is that it typically tends to have like 3 claws on its hands. So they're like man hands, but then 3 of their fingers have long claws on them. And she did verify that with this case, with the scratch paint. It did appear that only 3 claws were scratching onto the car. So I don't know. I didn't pull any other reports. Maybe I should have. I don't know. There's a lot of them. Linda Godfrey went on to, write a whole book about it. She was not investigating stuff like this at the time. She was put on this case, and she was very famously a skeptic, very skeptical of these sightings that people were having. And so she would go and talk to the witnesses every time a new report came in. And, over time, just with more and more, it wasn't so much physical evidence. It was just because of the stories and these people's reactions. She believed that they all saw something. What's even more interesting is that people aren't even really convinced that this is like a dog man. There's cryptozoologists themselves are very skeptical of dog man. They don't think that's a real thing. They think that people are just mistaking it for Bigfoot. like it's a type of like a baboon type of Bigfoot with like long snout on it instead, and that's what people are seeing. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I have a quote from Linda
Okay.
I can read. Um, one of the things that she said. So, Small Town Monsters did a documentary about this called "The Beast of Bray Road." It actually features Linda, which Linda recently passed. I think this year, or just within the last couple of months, just passed.
Hmm.
But she's very prominent. I mean, she was like the leader of Dogman research. So, I mean, if you don't know who that is, I don't know why you're listening to the show. But one thing she said in the documentary was, she said, I'll actually sometimes see people reliving the fear. They turn white, they turn red, they start sweating. I had one woman even burst into tears while she was telling me because because they still feel this sort of visceral contract with this creature. So, you know, again, it was directly these people's reactions that made her a believer. It wasn't even evidence. It was just people. So,
Hmm. Yeah, and the what I thought was interesting about the sighting that you recounted about Doris is that she claims to have heard it speak, where it says Gadara. Um,
really?
yeah, I saw that. So my new research technique is I used to just like Google stuff and then read a couple web pages or whatever. And now something else that I do too is that I'll listen to other people's podcasts about the topic, just because it's another way to disseminate information while I'm driving or whatever. And this is something that I found online and I heard in the podcast that I listened to. And it's interesting because that is um you don't have talking dogmen or werewolves too much.
No, not too much.
And and that is it's a guttural, they described it as a guttural voice. And that doesn't have like a direct translation to anything, like it's like a Greek word. Um which of course made some people think that there was some kind of, so one of the things that I never knew about until I started doing this show is that the supernatural explanation for like dogmen or werewolves and stuff, right? People that think that they're not just byproducts of nature, that they could be something like Cerebrus, or like, the devil dogs that are supposed to be guarding the gates of hell.
Sure.
And that the fact that it said this word that, if was heard and reported back correctly, because it does kind of sound like a nonsense word
Hmm.
to some people, but it also is a city in southeast of the Sea of Galilee in Jordan, and because it's got that kind of like tangent Middle Eastern biblical connection, people thought that that may lend something to the fact that this was a supernatural creature. And something else that was interesting about that area and that time when Linda first started researching this topic is that it was like towards the ass end of the satanic panic, which was happening, it was still alive and well,
Yeah.
very well, in Wisconsin at that time. And if you look at the general location as to where Elkhorn is, the closest major city is Lake Geneva. Lake Geneva, as we all know, is the birthplace of Dungeons and Dragons. So I don't necessarily think that this is there's a supernatural connection here, but it's something that I never really considered. And it's something that, if does get brought up sometimes about this kind of stuff. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
That's what's really interesting when you say that. A particular person popped into my head, and actually, this was an interview that I did on this show that Pato you missed out on, which was a damn good interview. Um, I had Octavian on from Strange Dominions,
Oh, I listened
and
to that. I really, you know what? I was very pissed that I was not here for that, because I
he's a
really
good
would have
dude.
loved to talk to that guy. Yeah.
Very interesting. I cannot say enough good about the guy. If you're not listening to Strange Dominions, you need to. He's younger and he's kind of getting his feet wet, in the community. But I think he's on to something. And I don't know if he said it during that interview. We talk a lot about things because we're friends or whatever. And one thing that he had mentioned to me one time was that he had a dream about Bigfoot. Okay, and in the
Hmm.
dream, Bigfoot spoke to him, and he doesn't really understand what it was Bigfoot was saying. Like, and to him, and some of the beliefs that he has, because he does practice a lot of ritual magic and things like that, he believes that this was significant. So I will take his word for it. But like I said, it's interesting you mentioned that, the dog man talking and speaking this incoherent thing, because I've heard of other people kind of talking about things like that. So I don't know, really weird.
Hmm.
But and I feel like I've heard that before. I didn't know that it was the girl that hit the thing that said that it said that.
Yeah, and there was someone else, and this is something that I'm gleaning from the podcast that I listen to. But there is a one of the witnesses from that early '90s flap had a very verbose description of it, and it was very like it looked like a misshapen thing that was a mistake of about like some shit about, but it looked like something that God forgot or something like that, and that in some of the, and from that flap that there was kind of and now mind you this could just be the byproduct of a human being dealing with the unknown, but that the people kind of felt an unholy uh vibe when looking at this thing.
Huh.
Which I mean, I think if you were to ever come across anything that was, if you were to come across, people just there's a large camp of people that think that aliens are demons or whatever, right? Like
Sure.
I think if you have that religious filter, if you have that religious lens, you're going to view everything through it. So if you see
Right.
something like this, you're going to immediately think that it's some kind of demonic manifestation, which it not necessarily is. It just could be a really scary fucking creature. So I don't know. I mean, I think to to say that this thing was, is it something that exists in nature, is it transdimensional, or is it something that was potentially summoned? Because that's one of the potential explanations for the large black cats in England, as they think that it has, because that's kind of an English thing, right? Is they have these large black cats that they see in the woods and
Right.
shit. And I always thought, oh, this is the most boring thing in the world. Who cares, right? And then I had read somewhere that no, some people think that they're attributed to um, that they could be kind of like demonic things that were summoned and that kind of roam for a while and do their thing, and then eventually they vanish or go back to wherever they came from. And that immediately made it way more interesting to me, you know. So as much as I love werewolves in the first place, the idea that they could be, especially like these kind or something, could be summoned, uh, you know, especially by D&D players in Wisconsin in the '90s. Like, there's so many triggers for me there.
It gives you hope.
Yeah.
You feel, I don't know, you should go down to Bray Road, Pato. You're not far. Go down there and shoot it and find out what it is. No, I mean, again, there are reports of it even to this day. People report seeing, and when you look at these reports, when you read Linda Godfrey, I'm not like a big, some of these podcasts I know you guys listen to, it's just report after report after report. I'm not just not big into that. Some reports are interesting, right? I think the lady hitting it with the car is really interesting, but like I don't care. Like somebody else saw it eating something on the side of the road. I don't care about that. Some other guy saw it
Mhm.
crouched in his backyard. I don't care about that. I'm just not interested in that. Um, but when you put them all together, then yes, there's something probably that was going on at this time and still going on now. And it's not like this, whatever it is, okay? Call it a demonic entity, call it an animal, whatever it is you want to call this thing. It's not like, oh my God, my name is the Beast of Bray Road, so I have to stay in this one Bray Road area. I can't go anywhere else, right? It's the fact
Ye-
that that creature is also right there prevalent in Michigan, very heavily prevalent in Michigan. It's the fact that like we also Ohio, the part of Ohio that borders Michigan, we have the Defiance dogman there. The Defiance werewolf. I mean, this creature is all over. It's not just that one area. And Linda says it's not just the one.
Yeah, it's What's interesting about it is that that area, like you hear Wisconsin and you think like, oh, it's super, you're in the Midwest, you're in the woods or something, you're in the northern part of America. And there are parts of Wisconsin that are very heavily forested. That's not really one of them. Like you're just north of Lake Geneva. Like I'm not saying there's not woods up there. There's trees, but it's not like you're in the middle of you know, you're by like Minnesota or like the UP or anything. You know what I mean? You're about 50 miles from Chicago.
Right.
You're even less from Milwaukee. Like you're not that secluded to where the idea of there being like fucking werewolves running around or like giant wolves or anything like that in that specific area. I don't know. Now, because it is in such close proximity to Lake Geneva, I mean, wherever you have large bodies of water, you have lots of wildlife in general. So that would be very good hunting grounds. If it's gonna, and it seems these people are seeing it because it's eating roadkill on the side of the road, right? So that also speaks to the idea of it being terrestrial. Because if it was fucking demonic, why would it need to eat?
Why would it need to eat?
It would really need
Yeah.
food. So I don't know. I mean, it could be like the very definition of a cryptid, where it's some kind of uh,
Animal.
biological thing that's just living in that area. And you talk about the my only thing about when people make the connection of, like you said, oh well, Wisconsin's right there, and then you have Michigan, and you look on a map and you say, oh wow, these two things aren't that far apart, but you have two things in between those two locations. One of them is a large body of water, and I don't know if these motherfuckers can sail a boat or not. And number two, you have the city of Chicago. So, like, what's it going to do? Get on a metro train and just like kind of scoot through? Like, I don't know. Now, you see coyotes downtown and shit all the time. So, obviously, wild animals do kind of find their way into the city and shit. But, like, if this thing were to somehow migrate from Wisconsin to Michigan, I mean, just really look at that on a map and be like, how the fuck is it getting from point A to point B? I know you can draw a line and it's not that far, but like, what route's it going to take? You know what I mean? It's not. It can't. There is the third largest metropolitan city in the United States directly in between those two locations. It's not getting from point A to point B unless it's, you know what I mean, in a fucking airplane or something. Um, so I don't know. Not that I'm shitting on I'm not. Maybe they're cousins. Maybe they're two lost tribes that were separated by urbanization or something. You know, but yeah, you can't go from one to the other.
Mm, I don't know. But the Upper Peninsula, Pat, is pretty of Michigan is pretty desolate for the most part. So you're saying that it can't go from Wisconsin to the UP
I
without
mean,
hitting metropolitan. I mean, I don't know the area.
okay. So just like I'll just do map of the U.S. I understand what you're saying with the UP, but then it's like you're going through Canada. Let me pull it up right now. I don't
Sure,
want to sound like I already sound like enough of an idiot today. I ain't trying to fucking sound any stupider. Um,
because there's a whole national forest that connects Wisconsin and the UP up there.
right. So Elkhorn is the southeast corner of Wisconsin, right? And so you would really have to go all the way up to the north part of Wisconsin, and then right now you're in the UP. You're in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and you have to go over, and then there's the little stuff down here where it connects Thunder Bay and all that shit, and you'd have to come back down again. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not a migratory expert. I mean, I guess sure. I'm just saying that the quickest route where you're going to say, okay, here's southeast Wisconsin, boom, here's Michigan right here, and there's a little bit of Indiana in between. Yeah, but there's also a really big fucking city. So for them to come south and then east is like wouldn't happen. I mean, I guess it could. I don't know. I guess anything's possible. We're talking about the migratory fucking patterns of werewolves at this point. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean, why
know.
couldn't you follow the river down? I mean, there's a whole river you could follow down that way. Right, but they're werewolves, Pat. They're just they're not doing
Sure.
anything. But walking around? You know, why wouldn't they travel all over the place? That's just, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think it's the same. It's not the exact same creature, right? It's
When you
families of these things.
right, when you don't have work in the morning, I mean, and you
Right.
got nothing
Why
but
not
time on your
fucking
hands, sure.
just walk around the whole goddamn, just walk straight away? Because why would, I mean, why would they roam through a city? You know, if that happened, then bears would like live in the city all the time. And they do come to the city, but they live in the woods. You know, they don't like to be around us. They stay away from us. And they can smell us from miles away. You know, I'd imagine if they're canine, it's like the one thing they're good at is smelling.
Sure.
So I think that they would avoid it. I don't know. Again, I feel like when you put all these stories together, then it makes sense for a population to pop up. What I do find kind of hilarious are the cryptozoologists going, "Dog man, yeah, right," and calling that ridiculous and saying that it's just all Bigfoot people are seeing.
I saw that too, and I was very disappointed by that. Uh,
Cryptozoologists don't believe in Dogman. Yeah, they don't.
that they just lump everything together as Bigfoot. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, well, anything that's like bipedal. You got people saying that like the lizard man of Skatepore Swamp was just a Bigfoot and shit. It's like it had scales, my guy. What do you mean? But there's always a Bigfoot explanation for the Bigfoot bros. But no, in general, yeah, cryptozoology doesn't really recognize Dogman, and it's because it sounds ridiculous because it is. And I agree with that. I don't think that this is a flesh and blood animal. I don't. I think that if it exists, that it is some. It's got to be some type of supernatural something. It has to
Really?
be. That's what I think.
Okay.
Well, because we don't have it doesn't make sense for canines to evolve to walk on two legs. They're slower that way. Okay, that just doesn't. Why? We have no proof that no fossil record at all of anything like that that makes any sense. Whereas, like with Bigfoot, we do have a fossil record for that. Us, we, I mean, we have semi-intelligent larger apes out there. We have North American. We just found ape an ape like fossil in North America to prove that there was an undiscovered species of apes here a long time ago. The science backs it. Science does not back a dog man. It just doesn't. Now that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that this has got to be something else. It's got to be.
Right.
Um,
But if
that's
it were real, it could definitely migrate by going north and then coming back
sure.
down.
It could, yes. If it were real, it could. It could go north and come back down, and it could go west. I mean, it can go wherever the fuck it wants to. It's an animal. Birds do that shit all the time. So they just travel. But no, I don't personally. I don't think that they're flesh and blood. But um, it is interesting that the same phenomena is happening in such a close area. But then again, I mean, it's just like anything you start researching. You're like, oh, okay. So there's this Beast of Bray Road that's in Wisconsin. Oh, there's this Michigan Dogman that's in Michigan. Oh, there's the Defiance Werewolf in Ohio. Oh, there's reports of these things in Pennsylvania. Oh my God, New York has them. It just doesn't stop, right? It continues to spread. If you dig,
Right.
if you dig deep enough, those reports are there. Um, why some of them make a name for themselves and others don't, I don't know. Again,
Alliteration.
well,
Beast of Bray Road sounds a lot better than Michigan Dogman. Those are two conflicting sounds. Never doubt the fucking power of like effective marketing. You know,
I
it's got a real
no.
good name. Rolls off the tongue.
I think that both of those things, just like I do when it comes to every flap out there, I think it's because they had somebody that they could report these things to, and that's it. There was somebody on the case. Linda Godfrey was on the case. Michigan
Mm.
Dogman, it was that fucking radio DJ that made the song. There was finally, and we learned that with the Withable UFO flap.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mothman had John Keel and Point Pleasant.
Once you start asking the questions, you start getting the answers,
Right.
and yeah, then you have to look at how much does you asking the question create the answer, and how much is it people finally having a outlet for these stories that they've been collecting their whole lives.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think this comes in waves. I don't think that. I just think it seems like it does. I just think that they have somewhere to finally go, to safely report these things to that makes sense. And
Mhm.
I'm not surprised by that. So, I don't know.
not to get terribly off topic, but did you happen to watch that video that I sent you last night?
I did. We talked about that last year.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah. So what Pato is referring to is the TikToker that filmed the giant and went missing. Not missing. He died.
Andrew Dawson.
Andrew
Well, now they're
Dawson.
saying that maybe he faked his death. I mean, when you get to the end of the video, it kind of breaks it down. I mean, I don't want to, I don't like people get all bent out of shape when you suggest that dead people didn't die. So I'm not going to do that. But yes, there's because of the timing of when the obituary was posted, and there's not really any corroborating evidence. He just kind of disappeared from social media, and that was it. And he had family members that never posted anything about him dying on their social media that people have stalked. Um, but the story is interesting, and it's funny because it starts off as like a giant sighting, and kind of slides into Bigfoot. And I guess that's another connection that I never really made. That they could conceivably be the same thing. If you're going to believe in giants and you're going to believe in Bigfoot, maybe the two are somehow connected. And I don't know.
The origin story that we talked about in the Wendigo episode about man's first dog, right? The first dog is the two indigenous gentlemen. Their boat was broken and a giant approached them and offered to help them. And the giant sometimes is Bigfoot and sometimes it's not. So there definitely is some type of possible correlation there. As far as the Andrew Dawson story goes, uh, first of all, the video that Pato is specifically talking about that he sent me comes from a channel called the Y Files. And even though sometimes it is very campy, which makes it family friendly, I highly recommend checking it out because the guy
Yeah.
is good at his research. He's good at viewing things very objectively. And, he again delivers the facts as close as he can. I highly recommend it. As far as this story goes, and I tried to like dig it up when you sent me the video because people have been, that's been like a big topic lately that people have been sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to find because I remember when he first died is when we talked about it on this show, and digging into it then. His sister, I did find a resource where his sister did come out and beg people to stop with the conspiracy stuff, that he admitted that this was all fake and that he should be allowed to rest in peace and the family should be allowed to move forward with it. But I did see his post or that guy's video where he said that the sister never said anything on social media. So I was trying to like find that resource again because that was my conclusion in talking about it, was that because the family had come out and asked people not to spread that around, we would respect those wishes here on the show and not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And because whether or not the guy faked his own death or not, if he didn't, I mean, God, what a shitty person all of you are for maybe thinking that he didn't or that the government killed him if he killed himself, but now I can't find that again. I can't find the source of his sister saying that. So, I mean, that's kind of weird.
Well, I think the most important thing, whether or not the guy committed suicide or not, doesn't really matter because I mean, I think it makes it a tragic cautionary
Yeah.
tale because we've already identified that all the things leading up to that were most likely not accurate.
Very heavy evidence that it was all faked. Right.
Yes. So whether or not I think we can kind of agree on that. And if that's the case, then maybe this is something that got out of control and he regretted it. I don't think that, if for faking something like this, I don't think any agency would take him out for faking it. We know that he faked it or at least misidentified this stuff intentionally at first, or maybe that first thing with the giant, when he first saw that tower from that angle and he thought it was a giant and then that blew up and he decided to run with it. I don't know. But once you establish that there's nothing there, the ending kind of becomes a little bit less important.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Right. And it becomes about whatever happened to this guy from that point. Like, fuck, I mean, I don't need to know that. My interest isn't in that part. My interest is in everything leading up to it. But,
which is interesting. And if he, even like, if he didn't fake his own death, if he faked all that stuff, he did do a good job faking it. It's very believable.
What? except for two things. Number one, and these are things, and I love the way that I just found that YouTube channel not too long ago, and it might have been Project Bluebeam or something else, but it was not that long ago. I'd say within the past month. And I do really like it. I like the guy's voice. I like the presentation,
I
with
like
the
his
exception.
fish.
I don't like the fish.
I like the fish. I didn't at first. I was like, man, this is campy and cringy and weird.
Right.
Now I
I
like
got
the
maybe.
fish.
But I like the dude. I like how he presents the information, and I like how he presents the information in that video, because he really takes you on. Where I thought I got halfway through the video, I didn't. I mean, I know you say we talked about the story, and I believe you, but I thought I was watching this for the first time. I was getting all this info for the first time when I watched this video last night, and it. I thought this was all really happening, but then when I saw like that was supposed to be the cop watching him, and I was like, wait a minute, that fucking looks like just a dude, some bro's car. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree with
And
that.
then when I was watching like that fake ass like hostage video, like I was like, this doesn't look real at all. Like this looks so fucking fake. And then I don't know. I mean, it. I think he did a good enough job, but then the thing is like, for what? Like, how do you monetize that? Where do you go from there? And like, I think he kind of narratively, he painted himself into a corner.
I
And
agree.
then when he's trying to get it to go away, like he realized he was just fucking with the wrong audience. And I don't know, he should have like dropped the fucking iTunes track or something when he was at the height of it and got some money that way or something, you know, drop
And yeah, we went
the
from there.
$1.99 download and be like, guess he, and then just try to cash out,
Right.
because
Right.
otherwise you're left with what? Like this rabid fucking conspiracy fan base.
Yeah, and right, like when that quote unquote government official stops him and he's like talking to him, like as soon as he
Hey,
talks,
bro, man, can you please turn around, man? Sorry.
right? Hey man, like, come on. Are you serious? We're talking the Men in Black. I guess he's alluding to the Men in Black or something like that. The Men in Black. I mean, I guess they don't know how to like drink normal or use forks or whatever, but like they're not that casual. you know?
Right.
It just didn't. And then like the guy mentions in the one video where the car speeds away, he's like, "So you're telling me a government car has an aftermarket exhaust on it?"
Exactly. It's like the bro. Like I expected to see the neon blue around the license plate. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Come on, dude. Anybody could buy that car. You just knew a guy with that car. And so yeah, like obviously all of that is fake. And then whatever happened to him, who knows? I'm curious to know if he ever like comes back from the dead. That would be really interesting. It's
Well,
definitely
at this point, the only thing it would do is the only thing it would really do is just kind of definitively answer that was all bullshit. And I think that's what he tried to do. Is he realized nobody, as long as he was alive, no one was going to leave him alone. Because if he said it was real, if he said it was fake, people were going to hound him no matter what. And I think it's pretty obvious that it was fake. And that if it was ever proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was fake, those people that invested all that time and energy into the story he was telling could potentially get angry at him and seek retribution one way or the other.
yeah.
So maybe he felt this was his only way out, or maybe that's why he committed suicide. Like, I don't know. But like I said, I feel like from my interest in the story, ends once you realize it was a hoax.
Right.
Whatever happened to him after that is no business of mine, and really,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
I mean, the locations of this alleged mountain are even they're inconsistent, and that's easily proven.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job kind of building up the story and
Yeah.
then breaking it apart so that there's no question.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, I just stumbled across that last night in bed and was like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's a hot topic, and of course, there's people that just absolutely believe that he was killed off by the government. Why wouldn't the government then erase all his TikTok and all the videos? And they didn't. It's still there. You can still see it. Why would they keep that shit up there? Like they're not stupid, guys.
Well, because you don't want to, because if it did disappear, first of all, do they have the ability to do that? Do they have well, I guess,
Yes.
yeah, they would hack his TikTok account, and then, or when they had him under duress, just be like, what the fuck is your password? Take all these videos down. But
Right.
then
Delete these videos.
would that kind of prove it more? Um, I don't know. So that's a decision. I mean, when you think about it, if this all was real, that's a decision. That's a definitive decision that somebody in some level of power would have to make. All right, what do we do here? Do we delete the files or do we leave them up? If we delete them, then potentially we prove everyone out there that thinks that we're trying to cover this up by deleting them. However, if we leave them up, then we're only leaving them up to be seen by more people. So don't you delete the evidence? Why would you leave the evidence up? Well, because if we delete the evidence, we're confirming the evidence's existence and proving its validity. Okay, but if you leave it up, then even more people get to see the fucking evidence, and then they get to debate. It's like it's better to discredit somebody than try to silence them, because if you silence them by killing them, they become a martyr, in theory.
But
Whereas if you just discredit them, then no one believes what they say anyway, and everyone moves on with their lives.
and pretending it's real, which we know it's not. But like during that one weird video where he's like, "Oh, it's all fake," okay, then obviously that would be like the government trying to intervene and having him backtrack, and they weren't going to kill him at that point. So at that point, before he died, they could have ordered him to erase those videos so that way they didn't continue to spread. And he's alive saying, "Hey, these things are fake. I deleted them." He could have said that. "I deleted these videos because they're fake." And then that's it.
Right.
And then the guy could have went on with his life. But like that didn't happen. It seems like a really weird misstep for someone who covers up giants to do. I'm just saying. I mean, why not have the guy delete them if you're forcing him to make a video? Okay. And just say that I'm deleting them because it's brought a lot of negative attention just from you guys. You guys comment on it a lot, whatever. I mean, there's so many easy explanations for why he himself would have deleted them. So, I don't know, but
Right. Yeah. Or just no explanation whatsoever. Like I'm moving on, and everyone would have moved on with their life too, probably, and just forgotten about it in a couple of months. And then
right.
it would have been something that some podcaster brings up 5 years from now, and like in a top 10 list or something. You know what I mean? We're like, do you remember the story of Andrew Tate? Whatever his
Right.
name is. You know what I mean? Andrew Dawson.
Especially with, TikTokers, there's so many hoaxes on there for this shit. And so, I mean, to me, there's just absolutely no way at all that there's any truth to this whole scenario whatsoever. But at minimum, if you guys take away anything from it, check out the Y Files. Good channel.
Yeah. Do you have any other videos of theirs that you could recommend?
I mean, I don't. I guess I've never watched one that I don't like. I mean, watch all of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're good. I think he did one on the Beast of Bray Road. I think he did one on just like
Oh.
Dog Man, and it might have been the Beast of Bray Road. I don't remember, but good channel. Like I said, he does the damn thing. He openly admits that he doesn't like talking about cryptids. He's very skeptical of the idea, but it's interesting because in the videos where he covers cryptids, he's like, "I don't know, man. This is hard." But he doesn't really like to talk about them because there's not a lot of like definitive evidence for or against them in his opinion. So interesting guy.
Oh, he's got a lot of giant stuff on here too.
He's got a lot of stuff, just period.
Yeah, good for him.
He's got a lot of stuff. He deserves the the eyes. When you guys go and watch his video, let him know that you came to his video's comments and that you're here from On Wednesdays We Talk Weird. No, I'm serious. He'd be a great guy to get on the show.
Oh, you know who I honestly where I watched his video was Valiant Thor. That was the one that I watched before we did ours. Because, like I said, that's my new technique is to listen and watch other people's shows, and then that way I know I have an idea of what the discourse out there is.
Oh wow!
Which I think he's
got a lot of views
research.
And stuff. I didn't know that.
Oh, he's got millions, a million for some of these videos.
I didn't know he was that large. Okay, so yeah, when you go there, comment. You came over here from On Wednesdays We Talk Weird. We would love to have him on the show.
Yeah.
Tell him. And we'll get him on.
You can leave that fucking fish at home now.
No, you should bring the fish.
No.
We'll do 2 separate episodes, one with him and one with the fish. One is just the fucking fish. You guys will see the fish. You'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Next time I'm off sick, next time I take a sick day, you can have the fish fucking fill in.
The fish on.
Yeah,
Fine.
with his little.
I'll have the fish and I'll get Octavian to come back again for the second time with the fish. We'll do it again. But yeah, so do you have anything else to say about the Beast of Bray Road, Pano?
I got nothing.
Me neither. I think it was real. Do you think it was real?
Um,
Do you think it is real?
I mean, I don't want to call those people liars. But I don't know. I don't know because I don't. There's. I really don't know. You
That's fine.
know,
You don't have to
I
say
think
yes or no.
this yeah the supernatural explanation is seems more likely of the two, but then that's opening up a completely different can of worms into where there's somehow you summoning fucking bipedal dog men supernaturally, and that's just another thing to consider. It's almost easier just to be like, no, it's not real, and then that way you don't
I
got to think
agree.
about it anymore. You know.
Yeah. You know my relationship with Dogman. It's already fucking weird and just not it's very it's stable. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, you guys. I'm gonna take a page from the X Files book and say I want to believe, but I can't say for sure that I do. So, but I want to. I want it to be something, and I hope that one day there is some type of smoking gun that tiptoes me over that line, to where I can say yes, I believe that this is a thing. But we'll see. So, all right. Well, with that being said, guys, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.